Today we're going to be looking at the RTX 3070 and we're going to compare this against AMD's RX 6700 XT. Now we're going to be looking at competitive games like Warzone, Apex Legends, Fortnite, Valorant and PUBG and see if there are any differences between these two cards. As always, we're going to be using our 5800 X3D setup. All parts used are in the description and now we are using a capture card in here so there are no performance loss. Okay. Let's start off with Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Warzone. As always, we're going to be doing competitive settings 1080p and 1440p with DLSS and FSR 2.1. Let's see how this one turns out. Okay, here we go. Starting off with 1080p competitive settings, and we can see right here 6700 XT is leading. Pretty good FPS over there. Both are GPU bottleneck. And we got like 99% usage in here for both the 3070 and the 6700 XT. And we can see right there that the 1% lows and 0.1% lows are definitely way better for the 6700 XT. And I believe this is always the case because Call of Duty Modern Warfare seems to favor AMD cards. Alright, let's move on to 1440p. And in here we have using DLSS and FSR 2.1 for the 6700 XT, DLSS for the 3070, and once again it's the same pattern here. We've got really good results for 6700 XT leading the 3070 in here. VRAM, well, just disregard VRAM. Usually Call of Duty will just use up a lot of VRAM, well, allocate a lot of VRAM. Yeah, pretty interesting. Yep, let's try like real world scenarios like on Warzone and see how this one turns out. Okay, here we are in Warzone, Al Mazrah, and once again we've got like, look at the frame time, boys. Like, it's really smooth in the 6700 XT compared to the 3070. Like the 1% and 0.1% lows are just way better compared to the 3070. No questions in here. Like the 6700 XT is definitely the better choice at 1080p competitive. And yeah, you do have like increased RAM usage in here, but that doesn't really matter. Let's go with 1440p and see how this one rolls. And at 1440p we can see same thing again. Look at the frame times for the 3070. It's quite bad. Compare that to the 6700 XT, it's quite smooth. So yeah, definitely in this one the 6700 XT is the way to go. It's just smoother and I could probably hit my shots with this one because of the frame times. Look at the frame times and the other one. 3070 is really erratic frame times, boys. So yeah, although you have more or less the same average FPS, but look at the 0.1 and 1% lows. It's just bad. Alright, let's move on to Apex Legends, and like before, we are using we're going to be testing 1080p and 1440p. So yeah. Okay, there we go. And you can see 6700 XT seems to be better in here. Let's see how it goes during like heavy action scenes. Okay, and you can see in there like the 3070 seems to be more stable and really heavy action scenes. On still shots at 1080p, they're more or less the same. Like that's really like more or less the same really. Let's go with 1440p and see how that one turns out. Obviously in this scenario they're already GPU bound or bottleneck. Let's see if we push it to 1440p. And once again, like in here it looks good on the 6700 XT on scenes, like, but when we go to heavy action scenes, let's see how this one responds. And you can see right there, like we rig out those frame time spikes in here. So definitely in terms of stability, the 3070 is way better in terms of heavy action scenes. On still shots, they're more or less the same. Like that's pretty much negligible in there. Okay, let's move on to our next game, Fortnite. And like Fortnite, we're going to try out all APIs, DX11, DX12, and performance mode. Alright, so in here we've got the settings for DX11 and 12, and let's start off with DX12. And starting off, oh, look at that one. Now it's very important in here, boys, to analyze that we've got like more we're not actually GPU bound in here because it's not like fully utilizing our GPU. But look at the difference in FPS between the two. Like the 3070 is definitely higher compared to the 6700 XT. Look at the 1% lows. So yeah, there's a huge gap in there, and like I said, it's not GPU bound at 1080p. Right? Yeah, there's definitely like a big difference. I didn't even expect that. So yeah, definitely go with the 3070 if you're like on TX12. Right, let's go DX11 and see how this one turns out. DX11, and we could see in here like good start for AMD, but let's see how it turns out when we go through that like really graphically intensive scene. Like in here, there's the frame time spike, and there we go. It drops again. The FPS and 1% low drops again. Much more stable on the NVIDIA side. They're not GPU bottleneck in here, or more or less CPU bottleneck, but obviously in here there's the driver overhead, so NVIDIA's card is definitely better in here. Yeah, like look at that, 1% lows are definitely higher, and even the average FPS way higher compared to the 6700 XT. So yes, another win for NVIDIA on this one, the 3070. Okay, how about we try performance mode? Right, so performance mode, we know that AMD has problems with performance mode. Let's see if they fix this one. And once again, look at the frame times of our 6700 XT. It's not really good in performance mode, and you can see that with the GPU clocks, it's not fully utilizing those clocks. Look at that one, 800 megahertz, boys. So yeah, and this would reflect the 1% low. Look at the difference between 1% low and the average FPS. So it's this one. This is another win for the 3070 in here. Now, I know one of you guys suggested that we up the minimum clocks on our AMD cards and see if that works. So we're going to trial that one out after this one, right? So we're going to ramp up the minimum clock speeds and see if there's any difference. Yeah, so yep, in here, definitely there's a big difference. Look at that, night and day difference between the 3070 and 6700 XT on performance mode. And here we go, we have changed our minimum clock speeds. And if this video has helped you out, boys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these tests. Alright, let's go back to performance mode with 2200 megahertz on the RX 6700 XT, and yes, we're getting a really good start here. You can see our GPU clocks are really pushing that one. So yes, and here we go. And once again, NVIDIA is still the NVIDIA 3070 is still better. Look at that, there's a big difference. Yeah, about 50 FPS in the 1% lows, and about around 80 FPS on the average FPS. So yes, another win for 3070. And like I said, this isn't a GPU bound scenario. This isn't a GPU bottleneck scenario, and we're using the same CPU. But obviously, with the RTX 3070, it's getting better results. So yes. Alright, let's move on to our next game, Valorant. So as you know, Valorant is also not really a GPU intensive game. It's more like CPU intensive game, but we'll see in here. Alright, competitive settings, 1080p. Let's start off 1080p. Wow, that's a huge difference. Look at that one, boys. The 1% lows is once again in favor for the RTX 3070 and average FPS as well. So I wasn't really expecting this because this isn't a GPU bound scenario, but obviously the RTX 3070 is getting better. Let's go on heavy action scenes in here. And yes, that's exactly the same thing. About 100, like more than 100 FPS difference and 1% lows. Alright, let's go with 1440p. And I guess it's the same thing here. So yeah, you are getting better 1% lows and average FPS on our 3070. So this actually makes me curious now. I want to try out the 3060 and see how that one turns out. Alright, let's go near. Heavy action, the same thing. Right, the same thing still favors the 3070. So, but this is really interesting. Alright, our last game for today is PUBG. It says the same. We're going to try out 1080p and 1440p and see how this one turns out. And as always, competitive settings, DX11 enhance. And here we go, 1080p competitive, and right off the bat we can see another huge difference in terms of FPS for the 3070. Look at that one, boys. Average FPS, that's about nearly 100 FPS in terms of difference. 1% lows are more or less the same, but 0.1% lows is about 10% difference. Yeah, so wow, okay. And we are on a GPU bound scenario here, so GPU bottleneck. Let's go with 1440p. So increase, and if you're playing PUBG, normally you would play at like higher resolution because you want visibility, and it's the same. So once again, we have higher FPS on our 3070. This is really interesting results. So I didn't realize that the difference in terms of average FPS and 1080p is actually really huge for our 3070. So yeah, we might try out maybe the lower cards next time. So if you're interested in these type of tests, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, boys. We'll be doing some more tests, and yeah, if you got any questions, so pop it down in the comment section. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video.